Okay, local auctions. I told you this is where I always end up scoring, and I kind of did it again. All right. All right. So this was an auction. Now this company, I've seen them around, and they do estate auctions. I think there was a piece of property close by that I've seen their signs, and this company came, and it was a type of thing. They auctioned off contents of the house, then eventually they auctioned off the physical property in the land. So these people are not per se specific gun auctioneers. So this is where it gets weird. And as usual, I'm just sitting there on Facebook and somebody I know posted, hey, there's this auction, and it was held at the property of the auction people. It's a giant barn, okay, 5-stall metal barn. And it was a last minute thing, so I said, okay, I'm gonna just go there, like, less than 24 hours, I decided to go and check this out. And there were quite a few mill surplus weapons. There were Carcanos, there was a Springfield .03, there was a couple P38s, a Luger, there was a British Webley, but I believe it was shaved and that. And there were several guns. There were some SKSs, there was a AK-47, a Norinco. There were several types of AR-15s, and handguns was an assortment of a lot of, there were Caltech pistols, a whole assortment of stuff. Books, there was a whole thing of books on guns. There were magazines, ammunition. Obviously the guy, he bought the Greek 30-06 ammo. It was in the tins back when they were bringing the M1 Garands back from Greece. There was some of the cardboard box, USA or whatever. There was a lot of stuff there. Okay, and then a whole assortment of knives, bayonets, pocket knives, and some sabers. There were 4 swords or something like that there. So I go there, and this thing was run totally screwed up. So they gave you 1 hour. At 8 o'clock you were allowed to come up and look at the items. So we're in this giant garage. There's nowhere to sit. They had like a little mobile office parked in one stall, and they had a fella in the corner that when you won something, he would type into a computer your panel number and all that. So standard auction. So I went up there and said, okay, what are your premiums for bidding? And what was great is none. So whatever the hammer price was, that's what you paid. Okay, there was no percentage added. The only percentage added, or what was added on, the man explained to me, is you must pay sales tax, or the total when it's all said and done, how many items you buy, 1, 10. You're going to pay sales tax, and if you use a credit card, that's where you get a 4% premium for running a card, debit or credit card. So I said, man, that's cool. So what you do, get there early. Like I said, bring your notebook, bring your damn light, and start scoping out the stuff and try to get a feel for what this guy had. So I go to the long gun table first, because that's what I was interested in. I look at the 03A3. I have my bore light. Some people did. Some people are shining the phone, doing weird crap. This is where things got crazy. So I got my trusty bore light. The 03 was a rework. It had a barrel dated 1944 or something. And when I looked down the bore, you could see somebody shot corrosive ammo in it. And I mean, the bore was toast. It was worn. It was screwed up. So set that down. Didn't even look at the M1 Garand or the carbines. Wasn't interested, because I know those are the ones that everyone's going to go crazy with. KR-98, looked at it, again, nice, Nazi marked, and all of them were fairly beat up. I mean, the stocks were dirty, dinged up, and the KR-98, again, bore was toast. Okay, somebody must have bought old surplus ammo, shot it, and never really cleaned it, or when they did clean it, the bore was screwed up. So nothing spectacular there. A couple Carcanos, cavalry carbine, and a 7.35 that with the fin mark on there. You know, fairly common stuff. And again, condition not that great. Bores were kind of okay, but I have them already. So, and then I looked at an Argentine carbine. It's still got the crest, so this is one of the ones brought in the 80s. The crest wasn't ground when they brought them in the 50s and the 60s. Hit the bore light, and you know, shaking, and there's all people around me shoving, grabbing guns and stuff. And so I checked it out. And another thing, these people really didn't know, because while I was there, two friends of mine showed up. One guy does run his own auction company, and another guy, the one that was bidding against me on Browning 1922, he came, and he's like a friend of mine, and we all met at a local flea market and these local auctions. So they're all kind of experts in different areas. The one fellow that runs the thing, he's into the edge weapons, pocket knives, all that other stuff, and he sells a lot of this stuff. He'll go to these things, buy up group lots, and then he, you know, sells through his business these different knives and blades and stuff. That's what his specialty is. Guns, maybe, but he was there to gather all the edge weapons up. He did buy quite a few. My other buddy, he was there like me, just looking around. He was looking, I said, now, when I went to the pistols, there were two World War II P-38s, and there was a Luger, and there was a lot of, you know, commercial guns. There was a British Webley, the early one in 45, or, you know, the World War I type, but it was shaved. And when I went to operate it, the bore was good and everything, but the finish was gone. There was a little bit of pitting, and that lever and that didn't quite latch back. So I said, you know what, we're going to pass on that. The P-38s, and there is, you know, there are people in there that know what the hell this stuff is, you know. And so I said, nah, pass on that. I was thinking of the Argentine carbine, and maybe there was a couple small handguns, a 25 auto and a little 22 short made by Astra. So I said, if I can get them cheap, I grabbed them. There was a whole pile of ammunition. There was a whole pile of clips, magazines, things, books, all this stuff. So they start the auction. They got the volume of the auctioneer so loud in the garage you can't hear anything. Okay, this is driving you insane. No chairs, everyone's standing. Now, when my buddy came in, he said, watch, look at what they're doing. The way they had the guns laid out and everything, and the pistols especially, they put them on just tables, and they're all close and piled up, and the people are picking them up, pulling them out of boxes, pulling them out of holsters, and then just dropping them back down on top of the other guns. I picked the Luger up, and somebody pushed the lever down, the side plate and the top of the gun started falling apart. So I gathered up the pieces, and I went to the auction people. I said, hey, somebody disassembled this gun. And they're looking at me. They didn't say nothing. I said, I'll put it back together for you. So I went, got it back together. And the guy goes, you got it? And I said, yeah, thank you. I'm like, what the hell? So this is bad. This is not good to begin with. And I mean, some of the guns were pictured with a holster. Of course, people pull them out and never put them back in a holster. And one guy ended up buying the holsters separate that should have went with the pistols that didn't. And it was a catastrophe, okay? So, I'm looking at the stuff, and then what they did is they auctioned off everything but the guns first. So I had to sit there and go through this, and then ammunition, they went crazy. I figured, you know, if you go in there, maybe I'll get some ammo cheap. They were in there like sharks and just bought the ammo and paid a hefty price. There's people who were spending a lot of money. So I said, okay. Then all of a sudden in the middle of this, they say, hey, my credit card reader is not functioning, so you got to pay in cash, which I didn't bring. So it's turning into a zoo. All right, so I go over in the corner, and there's these sabers. There's 3 swords, you know, full length, or 4. There were 4 of them. So I'm looking at it. There was, you know, one of them Japanese samurai swords is just a replica of it, you know, one of them cheap things. There was, I think it's Knights of Columbus sword, but it didn't have a scabbard and was pretty dirty. There was a Civil War wrist breaker, and you know, they're very common, but it's a $600-700 item. At least years ago it was. I don't know what they go for now. And when you pull it back, the piece on the mouth was missing. So I left it there. And then I'm looking, and I find this other saber. So I'm looking at this thing. And I said, that's a dress sword. It's a U.S. dress sword. And I'm wondering, what the hell branch is it that does this? And I look down at the hilt. USN. It's a naval officer sword. Okay. And when you look at the blade, it says Germany, trademark, Hilborn and Hamburger Incorporated, Hamburger Incorporated, I'm sorry, made in Solingen, Germany. Proved and etched. The blade is nicely etched. Okay. So I look at this thing, I go, this is an actual naval officer's sword. Now when I was a cadet in ROTC, I think they had 5 of these things that if you got the rank of an officer, cadet officer, you carried the saber. Okay. So I remember the one kid that had it, somebody pulled a prank and took the saber out of his locker. And they said that they were kind of upset about the theft, and it was like a $180 item that disappeared, and they'd like it returned. I don't know whatever happened, but that was it. I don't know the current value of these things or what it's worth, you know. But I said, you know, maybe I'd like it, just something. If it goes cheap, I'll get it. And my buddy, the one that's into the Edge weapons, he went over there and looked at him. I said, check them swords out. He went over and looked at them. And I said, is that a naval officer sword? He says, yes. He goes, I'm thinking 70s, late 60s, 70s, Vietnam era. And I said, I don't know what they go for. I said, if I can get the thing for like $100 or something, I'd do it. And he goes, well, there's this other guy over there. He goes, he ain't going to let that go for that amount of money. He's into the Edge weapons like me. So I told my friend I liked it and I want to get it. And so he was buying all these other things, and when it came up to this thing being auctioned off, I said, okay, let me see what it goes for. And of course, they just stand there, hold the thing up, pull the handle back, and go, made in Germany, German sword. That's how they call it. They didn't describe this as what the hell it was. So they started it 100 and nobody bid, and then they went down and they said, how about $50? And I said, 50. And that was it. Nobody else bid on it. Now, I think the problem is with the other guy, is I went and looked these up. Okay, that you can go on Amazon and there is a company that makes an exact replica, windlass or something, makes an exact replica of this sword. And this thing sells for $60 on Amazon. And it's a Pakistani, Indian-made copy that, you know, looks pretty good, but isn't this sword. So he must have thought that I was bidding on a replica, but I wasn't. And when I checked with one of the suppliers of uniforms and that, these companies that do that, that sword retails for $529. Okay, that's what it cost. And I said, whoa, $50? Don't really think anybody will beat the door down to get it, but it makes some interesting other souvenir to hang upon the wall. Then as the auction progressed, my friend, hold on, they were doing this, they got all the stuff mixed up and they didn't know what it was, and they were just throwing things into flats and saying 5 items, holsters, whatever, you know, in a lot. And some of these things, and there was a young man that was standing next to me, he started buying, and we were watching, because then that's another thing, if you buy that, they give it to you, the non-firearms, and you got to pile it up and watch it. So there was like 3 of us, my friend, this young guy, and me, and we were putting all our stuff in one area, and at least one of us stood there to make sure nobody took the other person's stuff. So another lot comes up, and in the lot, my friend seen it, it was like 4 or 5 items down. It was this. It's the actual belt and hanger, okay? It's not in fairly good shape. Got some mildew and stuff on it, and it's quite small. It's the smallest size you can get, but it is a correct hanger with the belt buckle, which brand new one from the supply house is like 90. Okay, so they had this. They had a microphone to hook. I guess maybe it hooks to my camera. I don't know. Microphone and a folding razor, the old safety razor, in a little leather pouch from the 40s. So you pull this metal thing out and turn it, and then you can unscrew it and put one of them double-sided little thin blades on there, shave with it, fold it up, put it in your pocket. I think it might have been a military item. I have no idea. 3 of these, and so 3 items in the flat. And of course my friend's waving to me from the other side of the room. That's the belt that goes with the saber. So I got the saber for 50, got the belt for 20 with the microphone and the razor. Then of course he wanted the razor, because I said, I don't know, give me $5. You pointed it out. I was talking, I would have missed it and not gotten the item. So that's gone. So all together, not too terrible. Okay. Then like I said, oh gee, we're going to auction guns. Somebody tried leaving and cashing out. The credit card thing don't work. So I said, I think I had enough cash to cover this, but not enough to bid on any of the guns. So I asked my friend, I said, because the bank was 15 minutes away. So I talked to the auctioneer and said, can I bid on something, give me the total, and then I'll go to the bank and come back. But then the way they parked, I was blocked in, so I said, shit. So I told my friend, can you help me out here? He goes, I write a check or something, I do something for you. And I said, then let everybody clear out and just hang tight, and I'll go to the bank and get the money. So I said, all right. So then we come up to the gun auction stuff. So the guns are going through, and I seen the one thing that nobody liked, me and George, was the handling of the firearms during the auction. The people there were doing all kinds of bizarre things, trying to look up the bores with their phone lights and this and that. And when I got there early, I checked several of these guns, and this one here I checked, this has a pristine bore in it. So that's the one I set my sights on. So I'm watching it go, and I believe the carbines in the Garand were Blue Sky, which any of you that are familiar with it, when they first imported them from Korea back in the 80s, I think the Koreans took the ones that were all trash and got rid of them first. And those guns are not in good shape. And actually, my one friend warned my other buddy not to touch the car because he was looking at an M1 carbine. He goes, "Don't touch them." He goes, "They're Blue Skies." So, and they were pretty much worn out guns. So they go, and it's just they hold it up, and then there was somebody in there, and things went really heavy, like over over 1K. This guy ended up picking up all of the nicer ARs and all this other stuff. One individual was buying it and going high. Okay. The KR98, surprising, even though it was junk, they didn't go that high. Even the Springfield, they went like 5, 6 or something, but they were not in good shape. And now that everybody's limited with cash, see, this is where you gotta, watch what the hell you're doing. So the fact that they couldn't take cards kind of put a damper on it, and people weren't, getting too crazy with the bidding. So they go through all the guns one by one, this and that, and they come to this one. So they did and the Carcanos went for about 300, close to 3, both of them, which I didn't think was quite worth it, but they got jumpy. SKS, I didn't even pay attention to them, what happened with them. But, so I'm waiting, bidding my time, and then my gun comes up. And they hold it up, $300. So they start, 300, will you give me 300 for this gun? And, it's in good shape, and it's an early one. Low Berlin, nice bore. The numbers match on the stock receiver and barrel, so that's good. Everything's good, the wood's good, no damage. Excellent bore, fairly good shape, in good shape for what it was, and has the crest, so very nice. Okay, very nice. So they start 300. Will you give me 300? Nothing. Okay, 200. Give me 200. Nothing. And the auctioneer's looking, and they go, all right, $100 to start. 5 people raised their hand up, including me. And she goes, well, and she's like dumbfounded. I don't know. And she stops for a minute and was looking across the room at everybody bidding 100. So I hold my card up, my number. I just stick it up and yell out top of my lungs, $200. And then it's silence. And she said, what? I said, 200. And she goes, okay, the bid is 2. And then, they do their calling out, going, nothing. She goes, hold your number up, you got it for 2. So I scored. And what it was is the young fellow hold on a minute. The young man that was standing next to me, and I was watching his stuff and talking with him, he looks at me and goes, is that the gun that you came here for specifically, the only gun? And I said, yes. He goes, that's why I didn't bid against you. He goes, I knew you were here and you helped me out, and, And I told him I could probably whip him up some ammo for his Carcanos. So exchanged phone numbers, all this other stuff, made a new friend, told him check out my videos on YouTube. That's another thing. None of these people knew who to see. These they're all scavengers that come in there. None of them are real serious people, or they're just people who run a business, buy the stuff cheap, and then resell it in their own little shops or businesses that they have. So, yeah, I made out. These here, $350 is about the going rate. You know, actually, if you get into a bigger auction, they may even go up to $5. Okay, so $2 is outstanding. And, you know, I've been looking for carbines or something. It's just an opportunity. Didn't expect it. Didn't expect to get, you know, and if there was a bidding war and it started getting crazy, and I wouldn't have went, but it was very bizarre how this auction went. And I made out. I come out with a decent piece at an extremely decent price. Okay? And like I said, I had to borrow money from my buddy, cash, went, paid him, did the paperwork, and it was $10. And I asked the guy, if I buy 3, is it $10 an item or just $10 for the... He goes, no, $10, and you fill all the forms out, do the background check and all that other stuff, and that's it. So, a pretty good deal. You know, and it was hammer price. Then the tax was $18.23 for all of it. And so it come out fairly reasonable, and I paid just the $10 for the transfer, which was cheaper than if I had it mailed to me. Now, most of the other auctions, you know, you go there and $600 bid, you end up getting $200 tacked on. But let me tell you something curious about this and why you have to be wary, because things got out of control, and when I got the gun home to clean it, I found some things that the mishandling at the auction house is something to be aware of. So, you know, I kind of made out. I ain't complaining there. But the way this thing was run and the way these pieces were put on display, the way the guns were displayed, you should have spread them out further and had more room, not letting them get piled and that. And there should have been an employee. They should be, most people put them on a table, and there's an employee or two watching what you're doing to make sure people put the thing back and not get it all confused or mixed up, which this did. And people, I think, were disassembling the guns. There was a Smith & Wesson bodyguard I picked up, and the pin that held the slide was missing, and the slide was like put back on. So I don't know, people were disassembling the guns like the Luger or weird things, and there were some strange people there. One guy would go, I remember I was looking at something, and there's like somebody standing next to me all of a sudden from behind. And this guy would just pick a gun up, a handgun, and he'd just hold it. And he's standing there holding this gun for like 5 minutes. Just then he sets it back down. Then he'd go look at another gun, pick it up, and do the same thing. Be holding it in his hand, and he didn't, you know, wasn't pointing at anybody. He was pointing at the ground, doing this weird stuff. And everybody started pulling bolts out of the guns, picking them up, throwing them back down, and everything. So I get the gun home. So I get through this whole ordeal, and I said, okay, let me check again. I said, to make sure I got a decent bore. So I shine the bore light up, and it's this weird, something is in the barrel. And I went and looked, and somebody shoved this plug up into the chamber from at 10 after 8 when I initially looked at the gun to when I finally paid for it and brought it home. Somehow this was stuffed up into the chamber. You know, cleaning rod, I pushed it out. But I'm wondering, what in God's name, or what were they doing? I think somebody stuck it up there and was trying to shine their light from their phone or something stupid like that. So there was a lot of mishandling of the pieces. A lot of stuff got mixed up. The auction was not run very well or very organized. Okay, it would turn into a zoo towards the end. But no big deal. I knocked it out with a cleaning rod, and there was like some fuzz towards the muzzle where somebody put cloth or cotton in or something. But once I ran the brush through, everything is fine. Okay, all the obstructions are gone. But that's another thing. You take that gun, and if this was up into the barrel itself, and you go to shoot this with a barrel obstruction, you could kill somebody. That's a real big, dangerous thing there. So, like I said, guys, local auctions you can make out, but then again, you see some bizarre crap, and really, they did not manage this well or handle that thing very well, and a lot of them guns probably got beat up, mixed up, had pieces missing, and what it is, the auctioneers know nothing about the firearms. Okay, these people have no idea. Like the Carcanos, I seen one of the guys take a .45 magazine, try to stick it through the bottom there. I said that's not what. That isn't how it works. I said, are you looking for the clips to go with the gun? The guy goes, yeah. I said, take me to where you're sorting through, and I found some Carcano clips. Say, here, put these with the rifle. And of course, my buddy, who's another competitor, he says, like my dad said, tell these people nothing. If they don't know, he goes, and they run this like a clown show, it's to your advantage, and you can get stuff at a decent price because these people have no clue what they're auctioning off. So there you go. There's a voice of experience and how you make money and come up ahead in this game. Okay, like he said, don't tell them nothing. Don't help nobody. You know, that's one way of doing it. Alright guys, thanks. Hit the like button, subscribe, and stay tuned.